Ready to bring your vision to life? At Small Rig, every idea, design, and product is inspired by you, the creator. With our industry-first under co-design mode and the Dream Rig free customization project, we unite with global creators to turn big dreams into reality. Whether it's a cage rig or mount, Small Rig's versatile gear is built to elevate your craft. Small Rig, where your creativity meets our innovation. Go to smallrig.com.
Pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about comic books, costumes, facts, boots, and other stuff.
In this week's issue, World's Finest Wednesday.
Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes, World's Finest Wednesday edition. And I'm going to stop you before we even get into it. But Zach, that was definitely a picture of Thor. And I know World's Finest is usually DC. Well, World's Finest Wednesday, we usually focus on Silver Age stuff, which I'm sure at some point in time we'll also have some Bronze Age and Golden Age. Just deal with me. It's old stuff that we usually cover instead of more new stuff there. And we are going to focus on the origin of Thor when it comes to the Marvel Universe today from 1962 in Journey into Mystery number 83. I am Zach, joined as always by the masterful one himself, Mr. Mike.
Hello, Zach. How are you?
I'm good. Who so aptly on Monday helped me realize that this is our Thorgin episode. Oh, I lost you there for a second. You like robot on me.
Did I go away?
No, you were there, but like I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just sang Thorgin word.
Thorgin. Oh. I got you. Let me put something on my
I'm going to go right down here. How's that? Is that better? There we go.
So, Journey into Mystery number 83 is our story we're diving in today. A short little origin, and we're going to kind of do these with some of the other Marvel characters. I know that you're familiar with Spider-Man's origin, but I'm sure we'll find an early adventure at some point in time we can dive into, like when he accidentally called himself Superman in Spider-Man number 3.
Real?
Taking on, yeah. So there's two things that I've noticed in reading some of the old Spider-Man. Is Stan Lee obviously remembered that he liked alliterative names for characters, but he couldn't always remember it. I think it's issue 1, maybe issue 2 of Spider-Man. He's called Peter Palmer instead of Peter Parker.
Really?
And then in issue 3, he calls himself Superman, or Doc Ock accidentally calls himself Superman. There's a misspeak of Superman is typed.
How does that get left in?
Well, I have a theory, and that theory is they were making stuff at the time that they obviously didn't think was going to turn into stuff that,
Gotcha.
Like it's kind of like, I mean, I'm sure like the Fantastic Four was still picking up, but you can't tell me that in 1962, like they thought, oh yeah, this is going to be a character that's going to be remembered, 60, 70 years later.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
So, but
I'll give you that one, Zach.
So our Thorgin takes place in Journey into Mystery number 83, which was published in August of 1962. Our writers are Stan Lee and his brother, Larry Lieber. Pencilers for that issue, Steve Ditko, Don Heck, and of course, the always amazing, always fantastic Jack Kirby. All those guys, actually, Ditko, Heck, and Kirby. I just love the early stuff of Marvel. So great stuff there. But we are going to focus on Thor's origin. And I know I asked you on Monday, Mike, if you knew that Thor was 2 people at one point in time.
I did not. No, I didn't know about these pickle monsters that attack people.
And I'm kind of, I guess, spoiling something for you, but let's go ahead and tell you about the story of Thor the Mighty and the Stone Men from Saturn, because this is where he makes his debut.
The Stone Men from Saturn.
The Stone Men from Saturn.
Nice.
And you see
Lovely.
the Thor that you would be somewhat familiar with. He doesn't wear the helmet anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the chest, the red cape, like it's all familiar. And Marvel, I'm pretty sure this isn't the first time that they printed Thor stories. Like they told more of like the Norse god. And granted, Kirby did do more, like they would do eventually like Tales of Asgard, where they would tell like stories of things that happen on Asgard to kind of build that up.
Right.
But like Marvel,
they all were huge fans of like the old mythical, like the lore and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, I think we've talked about it before when we did Mr. Miracle. Like Kirby was really into Thor, and he wanted to do. They would finally have Ragnarok, and the new characters that would come through. He wanted completely new characters to like take over, and it'd be like, well, Ragnarok came through, like it destroyed everything. Here's, and that was essentially going to be what ended up becoming like the new gods and Mr. Miracle and like Darkseid and all that for DC. He took a lot of that with him. But we start our story. It opens on the windy coast of Norway. Where
what I don't remember is the big T on his wrestling belt there.
Well, how else do you know that it's Thor?
Well, I guess he tells me.
Instead, you might be like, that T could. Well, I guess
I would think he'd be like, what are you looking at? I mean, it's like that's a problem area.
I don't think that. Well, okay. I never noticed until now why two of those dots are underneath his belt.
Yeah. Well, why does he have the dots to begin with? The dots are goofy.
It's like where his hip bones might be, or not his hip bones. His yeah. His pelvis region.
Yeah. Those big old holes in your pelvis, whatever those are for.
Yeah, or in his pelvis holes. Our story opens up.
They're for storing things. You just put things in there that you want to keep.
On the windy coast of Norway.
It's been a long day.
I know. I get it. Well, this should hopefully be quick.
You're all good.
A frail figure silhouetted against the bleak sky. He is Dr. Don Blake, an American vacationing in Europe.
Sure.
And as the Dr. Blake turns and leaves the site, he doesn't see the strange alien ship which silently lands behind him. So Dr. Don Blake is vacationing. Frail Dr. Don Blake. He's walking with a cane. You see that? He's vacationing.
Dr. Heal Thyself.
When the Rockmen from Saturn show up and they're like, hey, we like Earth here. Like this atmosphere works better for us. It helps us rip this plant thing out of the ground. I can jump tall leaps. Like I'm indestructible. Like this place is just perfect for the invading. We're going to take Earth. You see that little guy over there in the corner on that bottom page? Like they've been seen by somebody, by the beard of Odin. What have I stumbled onto? Turns out he runs to the village to tell people he's some fisherman in town. And they're like, stone creatures from outer space. Come on, that's nonsense, old man. Like, quit drinking so much. That's essentially what they tell him. They're like, no, you didn't see aliens. You've just been drinking. Go back and catch some lobster or whatever he was doing.
Catch some lobster. My favorite panel in this whole presentation of panels is the bottom left, where the guy literally just says, ooh, I tripped. And he drops his cane.
It gets worse when he gets there. So Dr. Don Blake overhears the drunken sailor talk about aliens, and he's like, I should go see if he's telling the truth about that.
Absolutely.
So he follows him out and he finds these footprints and he goes, let me follow these footprints. Well, there are aliens there. I better be I better be super careful so they don't, notice that I'm here. And so, of course, whenever he says, I better be super careful, he immediately steps on a twig to draw attention to himself. Yeah.
Oh, so this is a twig first. Yeah.
And he's like, I can't run fast enough. They'll soon catch me. And that's where he trips because he's trying to outrun the Saturn men. Yeah. And then he goes, oh, no. He drops his cane off the side of a cliff. He goes, I'm helpless without my cane. Wait, perhaps I can hide in these caves. And so he crawls up the rocks.
You're not that helpless, dude. You're able to crawl rocks and get in a cave. You're going to be okay.
And he's going to try to hide from the Saturn men there. And while he's there, he walks to the other end and notices, well, there's this rock that's blocking my way, this giant boulder that I can't move. I guess I'm just stuck here to wait for the Saturn men to come and get me.
And that's where he found the Shroud of Turin.
Close. And he leans up against this rock, and all of a sudden it slides open. And he's like, Maybe me leaning against it like caused it to happen. And so it was a different rock, not the boulder blocking his path.
Yeah.
Because he
yeah.
goes into the secret room and it's a secret
You can tell
chamber
'cause
and there's
it's a giant
gnarled,
square rock, you know?
Yeah.
You can tell.
There's just a gnarled wooden stick like an ancient cane sitting on a rock in there.
Looks like a
it does look like a shillelagh. And he's like, I wonder perhaps by using this as a lever, I can move the boulder, which I guess if you open up a secret room and you find another stick, you're like, I can use it as a lever.
This bastard is going to turn into Thor.
Yes.
Come on.
So he goes to use the stick as a lever.
Dipshit who dropped his cane.
He tripped and it fell. He did not drop his cane.
Sure.
So
tripped.
So as he's sitting there and he is trying to pry the boulder loose, he gets frustrated because it's not going anywhere. So he just hits the boulder with that stick that he has.
Perfect.
And all of a sudden, he's transformed into Thor.
Okay.
It says the cane, it has become a mighty hammer, and it has been transformed into, wait, there are words inscribed on this hammer. And it says, whosoever holds this hammer, if he shall be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. So he's holding it, so he has the power of Thor, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, Thor, the legendary god of thunder, the mightiest warrior of all mythology. This is his hammer, and I am Thor. He's already just fallen. He's like, I am.
Well, good for him. He's got those big dots on his crotch.
So then all he needs to do, now that he's Thor, I can just lift this like cardboard, the rock blocking his path, and he just throws it out of the way.
Yeah.
So as he goes outside, he sets the rock back down, and he's like, but what happens now? He's like, do I walk amidst the civilized world as a mythological god? Or it's too bewildering. Man, I have to pause and think this out. And he sits down against a nice rock, and he sets the hammer down, and he lets go, and he realizes that after he's not holding the hammer, I turned back into regular Don Blake. And he goes,
that seems like a real chink in the armor there, right? You got to be holding the stupid hammer the entire time.
Well, and he's like, whosoever holds the hammer, it must, if he be worthy, possesses the power. So that's it. I must continually hold the hammer to retain Thor's strength. If I let go of it, in about 60 seconds, I revert back to my normal self. So there we go. We explained that.
60 seconds. He timed it out. That's good. Yes. Good job, Dr. Weirdo Blake.
Dr. Don Blake. So he's figuring all this out. And then he's like, let me try a few more Thor things to figure out how Thor-y I am. And he's like, according to legend, he had another characteristic, one that the hammer was so heavy that only he could lift it. Also, the legend says the hammer was enchanted, that when he threw it, it would come back to him. So here's the thing. I know it takes 60 seconds, but he still just so very much just like throws the hammer. And it does. It comes right back to him. And he's like, also, the hammer is invincible. Like, they're just telling you all of his powers. So he breaks the hammer through a tree, and it comes back to him. And then he goes, he's starting to figure out his other Thor powers. Because he goes, by stamping the handle twice on the ground, I can create rain or snow, which soon grows into a raging tornado. All the power of the storm is Thor's to command. Then he goes, to end the storm, all I have to do is tap it on the ground 3 times. But if I only tap it once, then the hammer changes back into a cane, and I turn back into Don Blake.
Oh, this is too many things. But I mean, I applaud them because at the time, everybody had a secret identity. Now that's something that they've kind of gone away from.
The secret identity
now. Yeah. But the secret identity thing, I get it. They had to come up with something. That's what people were using or whatever. But this is goofy. How did he figure out that he taps it twice or he taps it once or there's no
showing you he was trying it. He just kept out there trying out his powers while the Saturn was doing whatever they were doing. Without a care.
No.
But then we see at that very moment on a NATO air base, they realize that there's a bunch of unidentified flying objects coming in, and they decide to send jets in after it. So they send the jets in after these, which end up being more of the Saturn.
Sounds like you're saying they're sending the jets in.
The Jetsons, George,
Yeah.
Judy, Elroy.
I used to be able to make that
What's the
sound.
wife's name?
Gillerton. I don't know.
Gillerton, Rosie,
I don't know what her name
Astro.
is.
I remember everybody's name but the wife's. My goodness. Mr. Sprocket. Yep, that's the sound.
Thank you.
Anyway, so the Moon Men decide to project the Moon
Okay,
Men.
anyway, yeah,
The
let's
Moon
go to this.
is from Rocky and Bullwinkle. The Saturn Rockmen project this giant dragon. Yeah, the Moon Men are from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, Moon Men. Yeah,
because they travel. I can tell you, I love Rocky and Bullwinkle, and I've rewatched it here recently, the first couple episodes. And Rocky and Bullwinkle get to the moon from making his grandma's. I don't know, it's like a chocolate sheet cake or something. It turns out to be rocket fuel, and so it like shoots them up to the moon. Yeah, it's Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Bitch was making rocket fuel this whole time.
It was a 2-layer cake, so they used the second layer to get back home, but it splits the rest.
God, yeah, okay,
but so the Moon Men come to Earth to make sure they don't replicate the formula, just because they don't want to deal with tourists on the moon. So
sure,
they didn't like having to prepare to come to Earth, so they don't want people to go up there. But
so goofy.
So the Saturn men project this like dragon, and it scares all of the fighter pilots. Yeah, and so they eject from their planes.
That's a perfect way to get away from a dragon. Is what you do is you eject in midair and just hope they go and just eat you all up.
Well, as you see, the dragon kind of dissipates after they get them all to like.
They didn't know that. They didn't know that.
They didn't know it was a fake dragon. Yeah. Thor, or excuse me, Dr. Don Blake sees all of this happen, and he's like, "Oh, I better tap my stick once to turn into Thor." And he does. He taps his stick on the ground, and the God of Thunder can help them. And so he goes and he spins his hammer around and like lets go, but like holds on to the end of it, so it like it pulls him through the air. You know what I mean? Like he's using it to fly, kind of. And then part 3 is Thor the Mighty Strikes Back, and so he just starts like knocking the weapons out of their hand, and these Saturn men realize, oh, he's not like any human we scouted before. Quick, trap him in like our human cage. And so it's called something else. Well, it's called something else, but they throw a cage down on him to trap him so they can study him. He quickly just bends it and breaks out of it, and they're like, oh no, he's too strong. Now send out our like giant, I can't remember the name of this thing, like their giant like mechanical monster to attack him, and Thor just beats him to pieces. Like you see him just kind of obliterate.
Well, it's like an old school like 50s robot that comes out of their whatever, out of their robot hole and comes towards Thor. It's just like when you see this thing, Thor's just gonna like bonk it on the head and it's dead.
And that's what he does. He just essentially like swings through it and it just crumbles down. And the Saturn men are like scared, and they're like, oh no, like he vanquished our Meccano monster. This human is too mighty, too skilled in the art of battle, and we know not how many more of them there are. Quick, let's flee Earth. And so all of the Saturn men fly away. And about that time, Thor looks and notices, oh, here comes the infantry. If I remain here, they'll question me, and they won't rest till they've learned my secret. I'll become an international curiosity, but all that can be avoided by one gesture. And so he taps the hammer on the ground once, and all NATO's looking like, oh, look, the invaders are flying away. But why? What could have done this? I don't know. There's no one in sight. Well, except for that lame passerby with the gnarled cane. But you know what he goes, they go, well, it's a cinch. That skinny gent is an Earth's secret weapon.
Stupid.
Oh man, what an idiot. And so hence the menace is ended. Now it's time for me to go back to the States, taking with me the greatest power ever known to mortal man. Editor note: Thor the Mighty, the greatest new superhero, will appear regularly in Journey into Mystery. Reserve next month's issue. I'm sure it'll be a sellout. The one thing, and I feel like I saw it somewhere, maybe I didn't. I swore. Yeah, it's just me. Never mind. So there you
What'd
go.
you think?
That's for some reason I thought that they spelled Thor with 2 R's at one point in time, and they just had
Thor.
I don't know if you remember this. We had that one episode of where Miss Marvel, it was Avengers 200, where Miss Marvel basically gave birth to her own the guy who sexually assaulted her in a terrible
No,
but,
Zach, I don't remember.
well, here's a weird pull from that. It's hard for you to forget that, but I'm pretty sure Thor is Donald Blake in that still.
Really?
I could be wrong. There's a story we've covered. I wanted to say it was that, but maybe it's not. But there's a story that we have covered before where Thor is still Donald Blake. I think Walt Simonson in his run kind of got rid of all that in like the seven, maybe in the 80s.
Somebody should have given that guy an immediate bonus because that sucks.
Well, Walt Simonson also created Beta Ray Bill. He did a lot of stuff on the Thor run. A lot of people like so.
But, or to like inject new life or something into it, I would imagine, right? Yeah. And that's how he came up with all the new characters and all that stuff. A lot of it. People love Beta Ray Bill. I don't know anything about Beta Ray Bill. So I'm happy to.
I don't know too much either. We'll have to get into him at some point in time, and I plan on it. But there you go. That is our Thorgen. It was a shorter episode this week for our.
It was great though. It was good.
Yeah. No, we had fun. It was funny. Now you know that Thor.
Funny.
Yep. Yeah, Thor tapped his stick to turn into Thor.
Well, as he should, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. As on Asgard, as on Earth, or whatever. I don't know how it goes.
That's it. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I thought I saw something over there. I thought they.
Okay.
I'm seeing things now.
All right. So I also have the Hulk that I figured we could do. Like I don't think I'm going to do just another Marvel one back to back, but I do have plans. I don't know if you know this or not. I don't do anything without a plan and stuff. And so
really?
I'm eventually giving you all these origins, and they'll just be there. So when we finally cover Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross's Marvels from 1994, you'll have all the origins and stuff there from that time in your head. Because what Marvels is Alex Ross, he did like Kingdom Come and a lot of other stuff. He's the the guy who paints all the art. It's fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
But Kurt Busiek essentially retold the Marvel Comics story through the eyes of like a reporter. It's just like 4 issues of him telling like the Marvel story as like somebody who's witnessing all these events happen. And
that's very cool.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. We'll get to that at some point in time. I know I talked Monday about Do a Power Bomb, which is what Daniel Warren Johnson did. We have a lot to get to, but before we get to, like, I've read a lot of stuff, Mike. I read a lot, so we're going to be good for a while. We're going to be plenty flush with things to cover. We'll get back probably to a weird, crazy, ridiculous World's Finest next week on this, and we'll also sprinkle in those Marvel origins as well. But coming up on the regular show on Monday next week, part 2 of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Monday we had part 1. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen.
Very nice series. Yeah.
Mike really loves the art. I do too.
One
of my favorites, Mike. The writing is fantastic too. I don't do a good enough job of being able to explain it without reading verbatim what Tom King wrote, but it's fantastic. So go ahead and check it out yourself. Great stuff there. And we'll have part 2 coming up on Monday. As always, thank you guys for taking the time out to listen. Appreciate it. You can reach us at brosfoesandheroes@gmail.com. Leave a comment under the video or on Instagram or on TikTok or wherever you find us and wherever you watch us. We just love any sort of interaction. We're desperate like that.
Hell yeah. Yeah, please call us out. Anything.
But we appreciate it all. Make sure to check out Rogue Media Network and the other great podcasts on the Rogue Media Network family.
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
And until next time, stay safe, everybody.
Galcon.
He roboted out on it.
Galcon!
Oh man, golly con, everybody.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. Elevate your experience with Grinco Science, the leaders in cutting-edge vaporizers. Whether you're at home or on the go, our sleek, powerful devices deliver smooth, consistent hits every time. Quality you can trust, innovation you can feel. Grinco Science. Take your vapor game to the next level. Visit us at grincoscience.com.